Good morning, champion, and thank you for tuning in to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. You're listening to The Mike James Show, where we laugh, we live, and we live on.
Good morning, you're listening to The Mike James Show, and I'm your host, Coach Mike J. Today's show sponsor is the 3D Value Company. And that company's vision is simply to add value to people's spirit, soul, and body. That's literally what drives me, because I really do believe God fashioned you to thrive and live an abundant life in each of those dimensions. And my vision is I see people hearing the insights that we share, maximizing their potential. Today's show is part 2. Last time, if you were following, we did a show entitled Time Strategies 101. I'm a lover of wisdom. I just simply love hearing information that can help me maximize my time. And so if you haven't seen the last week's show, I want you to go back and look at it and give me some feedback. Let me know which of those nuggets in particular are very useful for you. Today, we're sort of going to springboard off of last week's topics, but I just want to share 3 more additional nuggets. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of this book, Time Basics 101, by Jim Muncie, you're missing out. Go ahead and grab that book, because I'm only scratching the surface of some wisdom that I learned from this particular book, also from Genesis chapter 1, and I referenced some other material in last week's show. Each of those books would be a tremendous value add to you, the way that you perceive time, talent, treasure, relationships in your life. These things matter. And so today, if you are not already following us on social media, I want you to go visit us on our other pages, Fanbase in particular. Look for 3D Value, TikTok at 3D Value, LinkedIn 3D Value, YouTube page 3D Value, IG 2 pages there, Mike James adds 3D Value and 3D Value Purpose Coaching. You'll find us there. And last but not least, Facebook as well. And that's mainly for those who are listening in Radio Land who may not have the benefit of having a visual in front of you as you listen to this content. I love accessing both crowds. I want people who are on social media to have something positive to listen to while you're sitting on the couch in your PJs or just doing life. But also those in audio world who are just driving. You can't be on your phone. This content's there for you as well. Once again, today's show is entitled Time Strategies 101. And first point, view time as a gas. When I first read this point, it really stuck with me. I want to read a little excerpt from the book here. It says, view time as a gas. Check this out. I think this will really be beneficial to you. The author, Jim Muncie, says there's 2 ways of viewing time. Eventually, I began to realize that the way I viewed time was all wrong. Remember back to chemistry class? We learned the difference between solids, liquids, and gases. There is this one property of gases that has always intrigued me. A gas will take up all of the space of the container in which it is stored. Liquids and solids don't have that property. How much liquid can you get in a 1-gallon container? About 1 gallon. That's because liquids take up a fixed amount of space. If we want to store more liquid, we need a bigger container. That's not the way a gas works, though. Let's say you have a certain amount of oxygen in a 1-gallon airtight container. How much space will it take up? It will take up the whole container. Let's say we double the amount of oxygen in the container. How much space would it take up now? All of it. Let's say we cut the amount of oxygen in half. How much space would it take up then? All of it. As long as it doesn't explode the container, a gas will take up all of the space in whatever container it is placed. I read that because the author's point here is this. The time container that we place some task in, for instance, if you say, okay, I'm going to clean the kitchen today. If you give yourself 2 hours to clean that kitchen, psychologically, you're probably going to find a way to take up 2 hours worth of time to get that job done. However, if you shrunk your time container to a smaller one, like I'm going to give myself 1 hour to clean this kitchen, you enter into a different mindset where you're perhaps more efficient and you still get the same task done, but in less time because you operate it in a shorter amount of time. Now, here's the icing on the cake because I've witnessed this. What if you shrunk that time container down even further and only gave yourself 30 minutes? All of a sudden, we clarify our thinking in a way that we had not and would not clarified it when we're operating with bigger time containers. Now let's just pause here because I want all this to be relevant to you. What are some things, goals, tasks in your life that perhaps you're thinking it's going to take a long time, but in actuality, it may not take that long? What would be the benefit if you and I could operate more efficiently? Okay, so what are some things in our lives that maybe you're giving it a whole day to get done? And if you were to really carve out some time to simply focus, follow one course of action until successful, imagine how much more efficient you could be in smaller increments of time. I dare you. I just double dog dare you to try that. Try that challenge. Put your timer on and give yourself a little bit less than you normally would have to complete some task, and watch how efficient you become. Point number 1 today is view time as a gas. Point number 2, hard time crowds out soft time. This is chapter 11 of Jim Muncie's book, Time Basics 101. He talks about this idea of hard time. And his mantra here is that there are different kinds of commitments. Some commitments fall under the hard time category, which is not a lot of flexibility. You've got to be a specific place at a specific time, and you've got to do a specific task. For most of us, that sounds like your job, or if you're an entrepreneur, your company. It's kind of like a non-negotiable situation. It's got to be done. It's probably not going anywhere. And that's normal. But the issue Jim Muncie presents in his book here is that for many of us, we've got a lot of hard time commitments in our life, and that's where the stress comes in. Somewhere along the way, we think we're capable of doing more than we were really designed to do. Here's one nugget that has completely transformed the way that I operate. God designed you and I to be resource, not source. I have to tell myself that. A matter of fact, when we look at the Lord's Prayer, that model prayer, Jesus starts off by saying, our Father, and that word could be translated our source. The fundamental premise of worship is that I am not the source. Worship says, I don't have it all, but I know who does. And so if we're not careful, if we operate in life as if we are the Superman, we are the source, we've got all the energy, all the time, all the knowledge, all the wisdom, we'll find out really quickly that we don't. We'll burn ourselves out, we'll stretch ourselves too thin, and we won't actually be as useful for God's kingdom as we think we are. Okay, so we have to realize that we are a resource. We get tired. Resources need rest. Resources need to be replenished. And so we can't have several hard time commitments, because what it does is it puts us in a position where we're not honoring God, where we're not honoring principles like getting proper rest. And also, we could be taking someone else's opportunity to be blessed. You know, the things God puts in your heart to do, only a portion of it is what you were designed to accomplish. Every vision that God puts inside of you, it's actually creates jobs for others to participate. And if we have too many hard time commitments, we're taking somebody else's job. And so I've had to learn this the hard way. I've had to manage my schedule and make sure that I'm being a good steward, that I don't have too many hard time commitments, too many items in your life where you have to be a specific place, a specific time, do a certain task. You can only do so much. So here's a principle. Hard time will crowd out soft time. Now, what is soft time? Soft times are those things that it doesn't have to be a specific time, a specific place. It has a lot more flexibility to it. Okay, so I want you to just pause here and look at your schedule. Look at your life. What are some of the things and demands that are on you? Perhaps you're a parent, mother, father, but you're also a son. Maybe you're taking care of a family member. Maybe you have some extracurricular activities that are associated with your job, organizations you serve in the community. Maybe you hold a political office. I just want you to kind of survey the commitments of your life. How much of those commitments, how many of those commitments are hard time, non-negotiable? I got to do this or my lights don't come on, you know? But then also I want you to ask yourself, how many of these commitments have a degree of flexibility? And what are some ways that I could reallocate my time so that I could be more available for the people that I say I love? One thing that will clarify your life is scarcity. I'll never forget looking at the celebration service of my father and reading over the obituary and just listening, and the day of all the things people had to say about him. It was something about that moment that sort of clarified what life is all about. In that moment, it really didn't matter how many years Dad worked. What mattered in that moment was that he created memories, and memories were and are the only things that we have when our loved ones transition. So I'm kind of asking you today to think beyond getting through the week, paying your bills. I want you to think of a much larger picture. If you were to leave the planet today, what would your family really remember about your life? Is it the projects you're working on at work? Are those the things that will hold the most weight in their mind? Or will it be the memories that you have or have not created with them? So this whole idea of hard time crowds out soft time. We've got to be good stewards and assess and reassess, where are we delegating our time? Point number 2, hard time crowds out soft time. Going into my final third point, which is hard time commitments we should avoid. I absolutely love this wisdom here in the book Time Basics. If you have not gotten or ordered your copy by Jim Muncie, I want you to go ahead and do that today. Make an investment in how you perceive time. Page 103, check this out. Jim Muncie says, these are some hard time commitments we should avoid. People who waste our time. Wow. Number 2, projects that have no impact. And money that flies away. Now I want to just do a rewind here. Right before I went into part 3, or point number 3, I referenced the life of my father, and the day of his celebration service, I just sat there and I thought about all of the memories that he created with us, with his family. I thought about all of the words that people had to say about him, and even the program that particular day, we couldn't get everyone there to have words, but the night before there was so many memories shared, and the phone calls throughout the week of people sharing with me and the family just what Leroy James meant to them. And the more that I think about what those people had to say, man, honestly, it fills my heart with joy, because he really did maximize his life and his time by creating memories with people. And he had some hard time commitments. He had some things where he had to be a specific place at a specific time doing a specific task. But somewhere in the middle of all that, he also maximized the soft time, and he made his family a hard time commitment. I remember the trips that we went on. I remember him taking what would have been a regular mundane task, raking the yard or running an errand. He made it fun. He created moments where I'll never forget that. And so he still lives on in my heart. Why am I doing this? Because I want to give you a moment of reflection. And, sometimes we think about homegoings and people that we love transitioning. It can be somewhat of a somber thought, somber moment. But in actuality, we can use those moments as moments of reflection and use endings as a springboard into new beginnings. In other words, in times of exit, there is another door of entry created. Endings can be a launch pad for beginnings. Death can be a springboard for life. I want to ask you these questions. If we think about the way you're using your time right now, the people you go out on a limb for, the way that you currently expend your energy, your time, your talent, your treasure, I want you to ask yourself, are these projects that have impact? Am I doing things with people who are wasting my time? I'm going to replace time and also say, am I doing things with people who are wasting my talent? Some of you are capable of doing more than what you're currently doing. And I want you to kind of survey the way you're using your time and talent right now. Are you moving forward in life in capacities that maximize all of you? Or have you minimized the gifting of God on the inside of you for some other reason that we don't know? I'm asking you that question because at the end of the day, when we close our eyes, breathe our final breath, there's a fragrance that's left in the room. And I think you and I want to leave the kind of fragrance where we weren't people pleasers. I think we want to leave the kind of fragrance where we weren't expending our discretionary time with projects that don't even have an impact. People don't even remember the name of it. They don't remember what it stood for. There was no sense of purpose. There was no sense of mission, vision to what we were a part of. Or I don't think we want to reflect on, or our family reflecting on, the fact that we gave all of our time to people who wasted our time. Or we expended ourselves doing things, making money that flies away. These are the three clarifying hard commitments that Jim Monsey says we should avoid. And so as we close out today, I just want you to think about that. In what ways are you maximizing your time? The projects you're working on, the people you're spending it with. Are those the kind of people that are going to help you leave the legacy that you want your family to remember? You know, I'm not trying to get you to be super somber, but if you were in a distant point in the future on your deathbed with your family around, as you reflect on the things that your life was all about, what do those memories suggest? What emotions would that conjure up for you? The good news is you're alive right now, and today's a new day. What one thing can you do today to reassess, to reprioritize your life, reprioritize your time? What are some commitments you can cancel today? What are some things that you can give people a heads up? Hey, it's been nice, but maybe this is my time to exit. What ways can you reprioritize the way you're sharing your gifts with the world so that the people who love you the most don't get the rest of you? They get the best of you. Listen, my friend, I've enjoyed my time with you today. I pray the rest of this day and the rest of this month and this year is nothing short of phenomenal. If you're interested in how you can get more information about 3D Value, how to be a part of this community, I want you to reach out to me at linkapp.com/Mike James. If you're interested in how to be a guest on the Mike James Show, use that same link to reach out to me. And until next time, maximize your time. Be blessed.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl, Susan P. Listen to the Mike James Show. We down here in North Augusta. Y'all already know what it is. Bow.
James Show, where we laugh, we groove, and we live on purpose.